Live. It is now live.
Okay,
Summer's Hangout is now on air. Go ahead, Charlie.
yeah, so this is a demo of UniSight version 4 Sprint 5. And to speed up things, I'm just going to show the stuff I did in Pentaho. Um, so one of my user stories was to validate Pentaho version 6, and that failed miserably. Apparently they have some regressions in there, and I've opened tickets, and so we are not going to Pentaho version 6 at the moment. For example, I can't use variables when I connect to MongoDB. You have to hard code the values, which is unacceptable. So the next story was to create a delete cluster process that Cornelia will execute when Juan's code, someone requests to delete a cluster from the repository for reporting. Cornelia's code will fire off this kettle job to clean up all of the collections associated with that cluster. Since we do not have, like in relational database, cascade delete, we have to manually delete each one. So here's the job. It's simple. It calls one transformation. The transformation goes through and finds the collections that are tied to each cluster. So it deletes the job usage, the reporting file job usage, the cluster queue summary, the hourly rollup, and host usage summary at the end. And I will just fire that off. And of course, we're live demos, so Hangouts is covering up my button to launch. So of course, while we're on Google Hangouts, my internet is swamped and it's going slow. So that goes through, and you pass in a cluster ID, which is the Mongo ID object, and it'll go and read each of the clusters by ID and delete the associated records. So that's the delete. The other job I created is we're now to support better customers who want to use monitoring, but they don't want to do reporting, historical reporting. We've created another job for the summarization to handle both those situations. So now we're tying kind of a function to two jobs. So one is just crunches through the data. For example, if you're doing historical reporting, it reads a reporting file and loads that data, and then there may or may not be summarization processes that fire off an hour later. So that is this job, and currently I thought there was going to be some transformations, but it turns out at this point we don't have any. But we have the pinnings for it, so I fully suspect there will be some here in the near future. And then the other job, which I had before, is doing the roll-ups of the monitoring data. Most of these are filling up lists for Juan, for example. Get a distinct list of all the projects, a distinct list of all the departments, all the owners, all the accounts, etc. But then there are two roll-ups for the host usage roll-up and the cluster queue roll-up, which is takes all the raw data and creates an hourly grouping of each of the objects. So I think I covered. So that's three of the stories, and then the biggest story I spent most of my time on was the cluster queue summary roll-up. So similar to the way we do host data, every 20 seconds I'm writing to two collections. One collection is the live data for one to do monitoring. The other one is basically a log of history, and it's time-stamped. So I create a poll time, and it's logged every 20 seconds. Then the summary process comes along say it's set to run every hour, and it'll find all of the data that has occurred since the last time it ran and do group by, in essence, relational database talk, it does group by the hour and creates average, min, max, standard deviations for all the values. So that's where this transformation right here is called as part of the summarization process. So I will go to that. So as you can see right here, we read the raw data based on cluster ID, and we get all these attributes. Dang it, Google. It's overlaying my button. And then it goes through and does some, calculates the hour. So it determines the hour of each set of records, basically removing the minute and the second and the microseconds. Sorts them, and then this is where I calculate the standard deviation, the average, min, and max. So for example, load is an attribute we get, and by the hour I'm doing a standard deviation, an average, a minimum, and a maximum for that. And I'm doing that with load, available slots, and used slots. These other attributes I did not think would be interesting, but I could be wrong. So like load alarm, suspend manual, manual intervention, temporary disabled, suspend threshold. They just seem that, for right now, I'm just saving the last value that I see. Maybe when I get better data, we may add more averages to the mix. So then it loads it into the new cluster, which is the wrong one. The cluster Q roll-up hourly cluster. So this is for historical reporting, and then it deletes the data that's in the bucket. So basically, I'm using the raw data as just a bucket of stuff to do every time I run. So between now and the next time, a bunch will get loaded in there, depending on how many queues there are, every 20 seconds over the hour, and then rolls them up and takes an average. So it's pretty finely granular amount of data. I mean, it's not granular, it's a very large amount of data. So the averages should be pretty accurate in the min and max. So hopefully some interesting things. And that is all I have. Any questions?
Nope. Not me.
Questions from the... So I will stop sharing. Wait, how do I stop sharing? I guess you just have to give it to Cornelia. We'll do Cornelia next, and then Juan with the eye candy will go last.
Okay, so I give it to Cornelia, and then she just has to show her whatever screen she wants to show.
Okay, so the first thing I will show you is, so we decided for the UG cluster type to not support the RCode database, so we had to make some changes to the validation process. And what I'm showing you now is the development version of the product, which has this GUI REST service page that's a little bit nicer to show things around. So if we go to clusters, we see that in our model there's no longer a local attribute, and I can go and get my ID for the cluster here. I have only one right now. And then show you that if I go, actually I need more than ID. I'm going to take this all cluster object and try to edit it with a different path. So right now our cluster was, the reporting file path was temp toolbar dot dot dot. So if I delete part of this and put something that doesn't exist and then try to update, I'm going to get an error message that this path doesn't exist, which is expected behavior. Or if I go to the validate call and try to validate the current cluster, I should get true because all my connection parameters are correct and my reporting part. But if I, for example, go and change the so I'm going to make the directory not writable. And we have a requirement that it be both writable and readable. Then if I try to execute this validation again, I get the error message that it's not good. And it would, if I try to update this, it wouldn't let me. So let me fix this back. So that we can work with the cluster. So another thing that Charlie already mentioned is that we added another summarization job. So right now, when you install the product, you have 4 threads running by default. And you can go and see all the job types here. So now we have ETL thread, monitor, ETL summarization, and monitor summarization. We separated this into separate things. And then another thing that we did was kind of tie ETL and ETL summarization so that when you go, you can easily go and turn off monitoring or turn on or turn off the reporting, and it will actually affect both threads. So right now, if we look here, it's going to list all our jobs, and we can see that ETL job is running and both monitoring threads are off and summarization running. So I created some convenience methods for Juan to easily turn this off and on. So which one? So I can go to reporting and execute a call, and it's going to tell me whether it's running or not, so true, false. And then if I want to turn this off, I'll go here and do a false. And returned true, which means that it executed the call. So now if I go back to our kettle job configuration and do this call again, so you can see that both the ETL job and the ETL summarization isn't running anymore. So similar to this, you can manipulate, you can get the monitoring status or set it to true or false. So I think this would be a lot easier to do on UI and one to false. And another thing that I added this in this config URL is the base to keep historical data, which I believe Charlie is using in some of his summarization jobs. So by default, when the product gets installed, this is null. So if I run this call, it's gonna produce an empty response. But then I can go and set this to anything that is the size of an integer up to that. So if I go and try to do something that's bigger than integer, it will return a call that needs to be in a certain range. Otherwise, let's say I want to just keep this for 300 days. It should set this value. And then if I go back here and check it, we should get that response here. So that was that part. I need to now turn off one of my machines because for memory reasons, I don't have enough memory to run 3 virtual machines at the same time. So please bear with me. And then I'm also gonna start my SUSE Linux to show you the installation changes that were done for this thing. So we did several changes in the installation process. One was that we added the option to select a Unix account that already exists, and that will be the owner of installation. And this installation that I did on SUSE as well is using that option. So so I chose this test directory to do my installation, and if we do Mongo, we can see that there was a demo user that belongs to users group that's owning the installation and all the files in there. So that was one change. So I tested this on three different flavors, three different versions of SUSE. This is SUSE 12. Then I did it also on 11 SP4. And the newest one of the open SUSE, which is called Leap 42. And with that one, I had a little bit of an issue. The installation went okay, but when I rebooted the system, the check config didn't work, so I had to put some extra commands in the after file local, but I haven't actually put that in the installation script because I'm not sure that this isn't some kind of failure with my installation. But it's something that we can use if anybody who has issues was using the OpenSUSE product. So, so to verify this installation after boot, we would do something like the status. And we can see that this is using the systemd init process. So another thing that I wanted to show you is that with this installation, we changed the Mongo to the version 3.2, which is using a wire tiger. And so basically, I don't know the details of what this does and how it affects the performance, but we can see that in our MongoDB data, there's all these wire tigers files, so must be using it. An interesting thing that we could do is to actually, if we have some load tests, to compare how running this one with this new version of Mongo would do comparing to the old one that we were using before. I think this is all that I had. So I can, if you don't have any questions, I can.
I have no questions, but it looks good.
Yeah, awesome. So on Mighty 5, it's kind of our POC sandbox. As soon as we get kind of an installer working, inclusive of WAN stuff, we're running on there and then run my load and stress and see how it impacts. I mean, WireTiger is the recommended data store, internal data store within MongoDB. It's a little startup company they bought, I think, from and they now own, I think. It's supposed to be, blah blah blah, marketing 101. It's supposed to be, exponentially better, quicker, faster, gooder. So with version 3, it was kind of a pain to configure and set up. And even earlier in version 2s, it was really a pain to set up. When you got it set up, you kind of didn't know if you really had it set up because it didn't really look different. So unless you had really good statistics, you didn't really notice. But with 3.2, it's now the default internal data store. So we will be using it out of the box for customers that use our MongoDB install. And I think we will recommend that they use it for if they choose to have their own MongoDB installs.
Right, because we won't guarantee any performance at all with their own stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guarantee you, Bill, when they have their own, we're going to have all kinds of support tickets that say, it's slow. So we'll have to go and figure out, oh, you have a crappy install. Um,
That's what we charge consulting.
kind of like the same thing when we supported Oracle with GridMP. It turned out that they don't know how to set it up, but they had DBAs and architectures and managers, you know. So it's fun.
Well, as long as this out of the box stuff works, maybe there's gonna need to be some different settings. Right now, I don't have any.
Yeah, there's not very many settings for Mongo, so that's kind of good and bad. Um, so we'll have to do continuous load testing once we get the ETL, my part stable and your part stable, and then Juan can start. Because where it really counts is, you know, at the UI. You know, we can talk about numbers in the back end, and nobody really cares. It's like, well, my graph's too slow. So this is good. But no other questions?
Okay, then I will stop sharing.
Okay, I'm next. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay, cool. Okay, so for this sprint, I focus on creating two scripts. The first one is going to allow me to build a table that the backend developers in URB, UniSight, Short Jobs, and someday in the future UniCloud are going to use in order to install the web UI. So the first script, I call it build. It's a Python script that I just run it. Build. It requires a path where I can do a bunch of stuff. I need to download a MongoDB, Node.js. I need to create the bundle for the Meteor project, and then I'm going to compress that file, that folder, into the final tarball. So I'm going to say that I'm going to work on home, Marina, okay. So right now, one of the things that I need to work on is on the messaging, how to display message to make it more informative. So right now, what it's doing here is checking the config files, that the examples of config files that they may be used for the server-side developer in order to configure the web UI. This is going to take approximately 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes to compress everything. Now it's working on the Meteor bundle. This is going to also install all Node.js packages. Okay, so that when we run the script in the client, we don't need it. So one of the tests that I'm going to show later is how to run the installation of the run script without internet. So yeah, let's wait. Okay, now it's starting the Node.js packages. Now it's compressing the everything in a file called UI start.gc.
Juan, you still there?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
You're
yes.
kind of breaking up, but
Uh,
Your
oh,
audio is terrible
okay.
for some reason.
Yeah, the thing is that I'm running a virtual machine and running this script and running Google Hangout, and I don't have too much memory in my machine. Okay, in theory, this is the tarball that I'm going to post in Jenkins so that everybody can download it. I'm going to work on the building script just in case someone else want to create it. Okay, so now I'm going to move it to my virtual machine. Where is my virtual machine? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do a SCP. Oops. SCP web UI. I'm going to paste it in simple UI. Uh, on the folder. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, done. So let me share my virtual machine now. Okay. So now I'm in my virtual machine. Okay, the web UI that you see in here is the one that I copied from my local host. I'm going to untar it. Okay, so we can go to city web UI. So I have a first draft for the README file. Uh, okay, so in here you will have an idea how to run the script called run. In the bin folder, I have a MongoDB, Node.js. I downloaded from the internet, and these are the tools that I'm using to import and export the collection that I need to run the web UI, and the Node.js is going to run the actual program. So,
Okay, good question.
yes.
So that check collections, what database does that go into?
That is a really good question, and I'm going to answer it right now in this step that I'm going to run. So in this folder, it is, oops. Okay, in here I have some example of the config file. Okay, so for example, I'm going to use the most simple one that is going to be without OAuth authentication. So I can say bin config. Oops. Okay, so in here, for this section is the one that I'm going to need to store my information. So I need to use localhost. Okay. Uh, Localhost. I don't need this. This I talk about all these fields and what it means, all this in the README file. Uh, this field is optional. This is to send some notification emails to the admin when someone is registered for the first time. So this is optional. In here, I need to know who is going to be my the first admin. Okay, so I'm going to say that the first admin is going to be J. Molina. I need to create one of these two, either username or email. Oops. So here is the local host, the MongoDB that you were asking. In here, I'm going to select where I'm going to store all these metadata for the web UI. Okay, so I'm going to use localhost. Oops.
Okay, so quick question. So when you install MongoDB, you're not really running that
No,
MongoDB. That's
no. Okay, I'm not installing MongoDB. Okay, I'm using the Mongo export and Mongo import tools.
okay. So this connection here, when you script this out, will be where most likely where we would have the UniSight stuff also in the same server.
Yes and no. Okay, this section that you see here is for the web UI only. This section above is for the monitoring and the reporting files. Okay, this is optional. If you don't set this information, this monitoring, I'm going to use whatever I have in the web UI. Okay, if you set something here, it's going to use it. So we can have different database with different user located in different hosts.
But are you populating some data in the Mongo collection?
Yes, for the web UI, yes, I'm populating some collection.
Well,
Well, then it has to be the same, because if you're going to populate it at one location, you're going to need it for UniSight, right?
Yes, yes. I'm assuming that Mongo is installed.
well, yeah, but your stuff
Uh-huh.
can be in, ignoring UniSight for a second, your stuff can be in any database on any server.
Yes,
And then the UniSight stuff can be in a different database on a different server.
yes.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
But here's-
that's why
yeah.
that's why I have two set of MongoDB information. One here at the top in line 12,
Uh-huh.
okay, and then another set of information in line 34.
Yeah. Does that make sense, Cornelia?
If that's how he does that. I mean, if he's using two Mongo connections to retrieve everything, that's fine.
It's optional, okay? If you don't provide information in line 12, I'm going to use whatever you put in line 34.
Well, yeah. I mean, Cornelia's stuff, when she runs this script, she's going to put both in on the same server. My bigger question is, should they be in different databases?
For my part, it works the same.
Yeah, but for simplicity and ease of debug, wouldn't it be better if it was separate databases?
I think that if you put it in separate databases, it would be more organized. Okay.
So are we talking just separate databases, or separate connection, like servers altogether?
Well, your stuff, I think, you should put the same server port number.
Yeah, just a different database name.
But it could be, and I'm recommending it should be different database names.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Yeah, you can do that.
Okay, I don't see the database name for the Mongo connection on the line 33. Oh, okay, I see it now. It's really hard to read the red letters on background.
Yeah, it's red typing, and I can't read it, so I just what you're saying.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Sorry. Don't change it, but I'm just saying it's hard to read.
Okay.
So okay.
Okay, so the user and password are optionals. Okay, I'm going to remove it because in my configuration for the virtual machine, I don't have a user and password.
Well, I think for
the UniSight, that's gonna be required.
well, I think it should be required for yours also, because too many customers are going to say, "What, an unsecured database? Oh my God, security!"
Well, the thing is, okay, if you want, I can make it required, but yeah.
No, I'm just saying, whatever script calls this script, you should ask for a user ID and password.
Okay.
Always. But I understand for ease of testing and development, having no user ID and password on Mongo is easier. So.
Okay.
You with me? It's fine for testing, but I think the script should ask for it.
Okay, so in here I'm going to I'm going to remove this one. Well, I'm going to leave it like that. So I'm going to save it. Let me see. Okay, blah blah blah. Localhost 2000. Okay. So now I need to start a MongoDB. Okay, I'm going to remove. I'm going to, how is it called? I'm going to remove the internet access. Okay, so I don't have internet anymore. System control status Mongo. Okay, so MongoDB is running. Mhm. So okay, so then I need to go back to Bing. I need to do Python. Oh no, run. Okay, this run script. I have been talking about installation. Okay, but while I was working doing the documentation, I realized that I'm not installing anything. I'm just running the web UI. So if for any reason the server is down and it needs to be rebooted or the web UI is stopped, we can run this script again and it's going to start it everything. So it requires only one parameter, that is the config file. So we're going to use etc config. No. So then it's going to check for the config file to make sure that the config file is properly filled, and then it's going to it's going to start it. Oh shoot! Okay, this error means that the UniSight part I was using Mighty 5. Okay, but because I don't have internet, I got this error. So I need to stop it. Oh, I have two options to stop the program. Okay, I either press Q, okay, and I can leave the web UI running, or I press any other key and it's going to stop everything. So I'm going to just stop it. Okay, I'm going to modify my the config file. C config. I'm going to use localhost. I'm going to run it again. Okay, so now I can go and open my browser. Okay, so this is what I'm going to see the first time because I'm not logged in. So I'm not registered. So I'm going to register. I'm going to say J Molina Univa home process. Then I submit. No. Sure. Did I get an error? Nope. Oh yeah. Okay. Let me see if I can go somewhere else. No. Hmm. User not found. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. So I think I broke my register username. Okay. No. Um,
Why does it have to be an email address?
because I haven't changed it. That is how I coded the first time. But it could be a. Oh no. Yeah, for login, it have to be a email address.
Is that okay?
No, I think I broke my register form here. Oh, I know why. I need to use a different email because in this database there might be a user similar to this one with a different password. Okay, just let me check that.
Well,
The thing is that I'm using a local collection, right? And I'm assuming that there is not a users, okay, because I'm installing the application for the very first time. But because the user collection was there from before, I may have a user from my testing, Mongo Univa.
But in that case, your register would return an error that user already exists with that
Yeah,
username, right?
in theory, yes, but I haven't coded the error message for the register
Oh, okay.
yet.
I got it.
The users fine. Oops. Oh, you know what? Drop. I'm going to drop that collection. Okay. Now I'm going to register again. Mm, nope, I broke it.
confused. Why do you need to register if you're an admin?
Uh,
The install process should kind of do that for you.
mhm. Well, the thing is that, okay, okay. I didn't thought like that. How I have it before until before I broke my registration screen is that I'm going to pick up who is the manager and then I'm going to I'm going to enable it and I'm going to make it an admin. But now that you are mentioning, I can't do it like that.
Well, no. I mean, what I'm saying is when you do the install
Mm-hmm.
and say you automate the script that asks for the user ID, password, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
That process should update the database, and the guy should be able to just log in. He shouldn't have.
Yes, yes, that makes totally sense.
And you should default those values to admin, password, foobar or something, whatever, and make them overtype it. If they want to use, whatever they want to use, should be okay.
Okay.
But we got to keep it simple so that when it's done, the install, they shouldn't have to do very much stuff at all.
Correct.
Okay.
Otherwise, what you're doing is making it way too complex, and then you're going to get support calls immediately.
Yeah, they're going to mess it up. They're going to totally mess it up because they're going to go, what? What?
Okay.
I mean, you can't even remember what you need to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to ask for that information.
Well, you
Email.
are.
Yeah, in the config file.
But what needs to happen in addition is something needs to update the database automatically.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and that's pretty much it.
Sweet.
Okay.
So then, depending on what authorization they choose, they're going to have a different config file. I mean, or you're going to have a process that will populate them, right?
Sorry, you are breaking up. I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, I can hear the echo. So
You're
depending on which authorization process they choose, a different config file will be created, right?
Yes. So, for example, I have the first 4 files are just example of using the OAuth authentication. Okay, if you choose to use OAuth, you should follow one of these examples. If you don't, you use no OAuth. I'm going to show you just an example of what I have in one of them. No, being
Well,
gone.
we talked before, Juan, that the OAuth setup should be a separate process.
Okay, what do you mean by different process?
Well, you should be able to run the installer
Uh-huh.
system, and then OAuth is kind of tricky and non-trivial. So you don't want the product to not install because they don't know how to set up the OAuth.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's kind of where I'm going, right?
Okay.
So turning on OAuth and configuring that should be probably a separate process.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm thinking. Yeah.
Again, the product should be.
Charlie, what would be the default?
I think the default should be no OAuth. It should just be internal, which is he was doing a minute ago, which is just store the user ID and passwords in the database, and the screen reads that and validates. And then if they turn OAuth on, then that login process and configuration process is different, right?
Yeah, it's separate.
It's separate because you're checking some REST API call to some remote user ID password thingy.
Okay. So,
Every set of problems.
yes, yes, I agree. So, for example, if you want to, initial start the auth, you only have to take the same file, okay, and populate a couple of fields. Okay, so I can make. Hmm, uh, yeah. Well, okay. I have to think about it. How to make it in a different process.
Okay. So yeah, the product needs to be up and running, working, quote unquote, really simply.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Because like
Otherwise, you get all the support tickets.
you ran into all these problems just doing your demo, right?
Right, we'll give you the support tickets, one. Then you'll understand the wisdom of making it simple.
I
Okay,
hear you.
so does this mean that in the installation he would just use this no auth file, config file, and then he would have additional scripts that later on would turn on different types of authentication?
That's kind of what I recommend.
Yeah, me too. I highly
Okay.
recommend that. And make them reconfigurable because people will have to change them.
Yeah. Well, that is easy. That, for example, if you have to change something in the file, you can stop it. Okay. You modify the file. Okay, and you can create a new config file. Okay, and then you're going to load it. Google. Oh no. Well, this is not going to work
Yeah, that's fine, fine. Yeah,
because I don't have
That's
internet.
okay.
that's okay.
But the idea is that if you need to change something in your configuration, you just stop it, change the file, and you start it again. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's okay.
But the initial install should be automated and scripted.
Yes.
Okay.
So that makes your installation actually much simpler to start with. And then you just have a couple of scripts to update the authorization.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the way it should be.
Okay.
Shouldn't it? If you try to complicate your authentication from the beginning, nothing will work.
Okay.
Yeah, the product's broke if you can't log in, right?
Yep.
Everything's broke as far as they're concerned.
Yeah. I mean, the idea is to get them from zero to either monitoring it or a graph as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, even now in the current UniSight, they complain all the time on support that they start up UniSight and there's no graphs. They haven't even waited like, I don't know, 15 minutes to collect data.
Hmm. I hear you.
Yeah. Customers. Okay, we can stop the recording.
Okay, I will do that.